Hello and welcome to the December monthly meeting for the Corangamite Shire. I welcome you all today here tonight. We have quite a full gallery here and we have a couple of councillors online as well, so it's a little bit different and chaotic, so apologies in advance if things sort of don't go quite so smoothly and look a bit clunky, so my apologies in the start. I'll introduce the team around the table. I'll start with my Deputy Mayor, Councillor Laurie Hickey, Councillor Joe Beard, Councillor Jamie Vogels, Councillor Nick Cole, and on screen we have Councillor Geraldine Canady and Councillor Ruth Castrain. And then our directors around the table are Miss Justine Linley, Director of Sustainable Development. I welcome Matthew Berry, Manager of Planning and Building Services, who is joining us from Glenelg. Welcome, Matthew. I have Sean Braunbed, Director of Works and Services, David Harrington, Director of Corporate and Community Services, Miss Catherine Anderson, Manager of Governance and Civic Support, and my CEO, Mr. David Ray. I'll start the meeting with the prayer. We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us, who serve as leaders, to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interest of the people, culture, and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and the Wadawurrung people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal elders, past and present and emerging. We have no apologies tonight. Mr. Ray, do we have any conflicts of interest, please?
Madam Mayor, Councillor Cole has declared a conflict in relation to item 9.3, the annual report on the performance of community securities.
No worries, thank you. I'll move on to item number 5, which is confirmation of minutes for the 26th of November 2024. Can I please have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Hickey, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cole, all those in favour? Carried, thank you. We have a couple of deputations in the room tonight. So first off, I'll call up Miss Fiona Newey for agenda item 8.1. Fiona would like to step up and make the deputation, please.
For those who didn't get the opportunity to meet at our block at 135 Loves Road, that's a parcel of land that we propose to use and develop for a single dwelling and an outbuilding. We are Phil and Fiona Newey. We have 2 grown-up boys with 5 grandchildren who all live in the local community there at Timburn. We've lived in Timburn all our lives. Phil's parents owned a farm 25 to 30 years there at the end of Browns Road, and my parents also have connections with farming, with mum being off a farm. And during my childhood and early parenthood, I was involved with milking cows on the very farm our block is attached and adjacent to. Both our boys are currently working in the agricultural industry. Ben with a local contracting business and Sam has been a farmhand for the last 16 years since leaving school. They have 4 boys between them who are absolutely obsessed with the life around farming and all the experiences that it brings. Having said all that, we would like the option of being able to utilise 135 Loves Road to establish a dwelling to provide our family with a continued connection with farming and a rural lifestyle we and they have been exposed to up until now. This block was offered to us and subsequently purchased from the Couch family 16 years ago. I worked for them as a relief milker when our children were young, which started their love for life around farming. It has been owned by them prior to our purchase for roughly 70 years. Prior to their ownership, it was a parish church site on a separate title. They never used it for agricultural purposes as it was covered with trees and blackberries, which was situated at the furthermost corner of their property. It was more a burden than anything to maintain as they weren't able to prop on it and they knew the future we wished for our family. The most significant point here is that this parcel of land situated in the farming zone has been a separate title for 132 years, since 1892. It's not like it's been subdivided any time recently to take farming land away. It's always been a separate title. The capability assessment report indicated there would be no problems with development on this site size. During the process by the planning team of following up with letters to neighbouring landowners, there were no complaints received about our proposal. The current owner of the adjacent land either side of our block, in fact, thought it was a great opportunity for us to be able to keep an eye on any untoward activities if they were to arise on this furthermost area of his property, which the hill between us obscures his visual access. We feel as if we've ticked all the boxes for this planning permit to be passed. We're flexible if any changes need to be made to our proposal if that meant that the planning permit could be approved. We thank you for this opportunity to make this deputation and wish that you seriously consider our proposal and vote for it to go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Newey. I now call on Gordon Fyfe, who is speaking on behalf of agenda item 9.6. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I work in conjunction with Skipton Community Collective, which is a community organisation based in Skipton. We presented to the council on August the 27th this year, and we put a series of presentations about how we wanted to go forward and what the relationship we wanted with council. Amongst those, we structured a number of different items for each of the departments. And at that point in time, one of those that we really were asking for was to support us in a 3C master plan. And this was to be the future of how we saw Skipton going forward. It was based on five inhibitors that we recognise within council, within the community, and within that, one of those was early learning and an early and community development centre or learning centre. In doing so, we have come to realise that it's going to be the primary item that we're going to look at. The CEO, David Ray, and I had spoken about that a number of times. He had suggested that we put together a proposal for the support of that particular item. We put that proposal in the first week of December. I think you've got a copy of that. It asks for $25,000 from the council. And we would be able to provide the other balance of that, which would be $25,000. We're looking to build a feasibility study and an indicative design process for what that could look like on a block of land which we've identified in the town. It's our intention to start that work in February. We had asked the CEO if he would support that, and also David Harrington, Corporate and Community Services. We are understanding that is, they think highly of our proposal. What we're asking for is the funding to be provided before February so that we can start the project in February. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fyfe. Okay, so we'll move on. There's no committee reports tonight, so we'll move on to item 8.1, planning permit application PP 2024/053-135 Loves Road, Curtis River. Mr. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councillors. So the purpose of the report that's being presented to Council tonight is to consider the planning application for the use and development of a dwelling and outbuilding at, as described, 135 Loves Road, Curtis River, which is about 5 kilometres out from the town of Timboon. And the reason for the permit trigger for this application is because of the farming zone lot, which is below 40 hectares. If a lot is greater than 40 hectares, the use of a dwelling in a farming zone doesn't need to be considered. In this case, that is 2,000 square metres. That's the reason for the permit trigger. In consideration of this application, it's up to council's discretion as to whether to either approve or refuse the planning application before it. In this case, the officer's recommendation has been to refuse the application as per the grounds listed in the report. To briefly outline the proposal and process, the application is for a dwelling with an on-site wastewater system and also an outbuilding, which is essentially a large shed as part of that. And in terms of the processing, as previously described in the deputation, the application has been publicly notified where there was no submissions lodged. It was also referred internally to the assets unit and the environmental health to check off matters such as the wastewater system and access and drainage to the road. And also as part of the process being an on-site inspection with councillors and also the applicant to be able to view and consider the application on site. So that's what's happened during the processing of the application. In terms of arriving at the officer's recommendations to not support the proposal, the farming zone does create some difficulties and challenges in assessing applications, noting that the primary purpose of the zone, as listed in the policy, is for that of agriculture and not so much residential development. And the thing there are thousands of small lots in the farming zone all across the Shire. Many of them are incorporated as part of larger farms, and some in this case are in separate individual ownership. And some of the considerations that the council must do in considering an application is the potential impact that might have on farming enterprise and whether there's an association to agriculture. In this case, it is common ground with the applicant that the site is clearly not used for any agricultural activity at present, and given the site to be very minimal, that could be utilised. Despite this, though, there is the other policy consideration to what impact it may have on the ability for surrounding agriculture to expand in future, and also the other thing about proliferation of dwellings in the farming zone that the policy doesn't seek to support. So on the balance on those considerations, the officer recommendation has been to not support the application as outlined in that. But as it indicates, it is a discretionary decision of council where it's not an illegal or prohibited decision to approve it. It is what we call a Section 2 use. You can consider either in favour or against the proposal. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Councillor, there's a recommendation for us. Do I have someone to... Councillor
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move an alternate motion which has been circulated for all council to have a look at, which grants a permit to develop the land for a single dwelling and associated outbuilding.
Do I have a seconder for the alternate motion? Councillor Cole. Councillor Bogles, would you like to speak to your alternate motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it was good to get out on site with some other councillors and council staff and Matt coming along. Thank you to have a look. And like explained, it's an old title, and this is not a decision for a subdivision. This is a subdivided block. This is also not a decision for a building permit. This is a decision for a planning permit to allow the potential for a building to be constructed on the site. Now, I cannot see that there's a... You're smiling at me.
Oh, no, sorry, you're fine.
So I cannot see that there's a massive issue with this one. I think the plan scheme is very much on the side of caution heavily. And so do we be cautious, but I think it'd be overcautious to knock this block for a single this application for a single dwelling back due to the fact that there is already small lifestyle blocks around there, and I think just a couple of other things that in this alternate motion would be the the muting of tones or the non-reflective materials used, and there's a heap of other conditions that are outlined in that to allow this to go through.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Vogels. I think it's a bit of a shame if we do knock this one back. It's a very, very old title, over 130 years old. It's been split off as an individual block, so it's not creating another block or anything. It's already been a block for a long, long time. When we were down there, it wasn't overgrown, but you could see where it had been overgrown. There was grass had been cut and trimmed and tidied up a lot, but it's just a very small block. You'd run one or two sheep if you were that way inclined, or one cow, maybe. Hardly of any agricultural merit at all. So it's actually making use of a decent block. I don't think it's ever had anything grazing on it. There's no water on it for grazing animals or anything. So it's a lot better outcome, I think, as a housing block, and all the amenities either nearly there. The power's just beside the block. The water can be maintained on the block as far as I could see. So it really wasn't creating a problem. I had no problem with what they're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillors, is there any other commentary? Councillor Hickey?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Normally I would not be in favour of this this development on such a small area. So the planning permits, our policy clearly says that we need 40 hectares. This is 2 hectares or nearly 5 acres in the old money. I wasn't privy to the on-site visit, but I have trawled the place through Google Earth, and I can see how it is quite detached from the farm in general. It is a very old subtitle that is there on its own. It is 2 hectares that sits by itself, and I think in this case discretion should be allowed, and I believe that we should support the application as suggested by Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, is there any other commentary? Councillor Castrain?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like some clarification, if I can, please. I thought that this was a very small block, not 2 hectares. Can someone clarify the actual size of the block? Essentially, was that quarter of an acre?
Mr Berry?
Yeah, so thank you. So through the Mayor, the size of the block is around 2,000 square metres.
Okay, thank you. That just makes it a little bit different. That confirms that I support Councillor Vogels going down this path of approving this lot. The lot is right on the edge of the road, and I believe it's about 1.5 kilometres from the nearest dairy. So, while it has no direct link with surrounding agriculture, I'm satisfied that a house dwelling on this land won't be detrimental for use of agriculture in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Is there any other commentary? Councillor Vogels, right or reply?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, that's 0.2 hectares, not 2 hectares, and 2,000 square metres. Yeah, so that's just a fraction under an acre, which is a good size for a house and associated buildings without bringing into too big a block that ends up being weeds and pest haven. So I think it's where it is good spot, good access, good road access, and obviously good connection to Telstra and NBN, because you can see the towers from Timboon where you're sitting. So no, I'll just follow up on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. If there's no other commentary, I'll put the recommendation to a vote.
Hang on.
Well,
Putting it up.
sorry, Councillor Canady. Yeah, the right of reply's already happened.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Canady, the right of reply's already happened, so we can't have any more discussion.
Sure, thank you.
Apologies. If there's no more, we'll
Put it to the vote.
put it to the vote. And all those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I'll move on to item 9, which is officers' report. So 9.1, the re-administration of oath of office. Mr. Ray.
Madam Mayor, thank you, and through you, following councillors taking the oath of office on the 12th of November, a review of the stream was undertaken by Council Manager Government and Civic Support. Following the review, it was determined that 2 councillors had restricted had taken the vote in accordance with the statutory requirements, and that in itself was and not a deliberate or malicious oversight on behalf of the council. So the recommendation is to council to receive those oaths that have since been re-administered, and noting they were administered by myself prior to the council meeting of the 26th of November.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, as a recommendation, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole. Thank you, Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is fine to more procedural than anything. Nothing was noticed at the time. I think there's a slight mispronunciation of some words, and this has been corrected and it's been picked up because the meetings are recorded and watched back. So I'm glad that it's all tidied up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole.
Nothing further to add, Madam Mayor. It's procedural as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any other commentary? Nope. I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I'll move on to item 9.2, council expense policy. Mr Ray.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, council was required to review its council expenses policy, which followed the normal review cycle. The policy has been reviewed, and there have been some amendments to reflect changes to the Local Government Act, but also particularly around the matter of legal expenses. Amendments also included greater clarity around the reimbursable expenses, use of contemporary references, the inclusion of the mayoral vehicle, and some minor grammatical changes as well. So the recommendations for council to revoke the policy of August 2020 and adopt the expenses policy of December 2024.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillor, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard. Do I have a Councillor Canady seconded? Thank you, Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Look, this is really administrative on our behalf. Thank you to Mr Ray, who has clearly outlined the subsequent changes. It is a reflective of the adoption of the Local Government Act, and of course we all know about the Sandon report, so I think this is reflective of what we need to be aware of, and yeah, pretty administrative, so no further comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Canady.
Not really too much there, Mayor. Really just making sure that we apply the appropriate guidelines and fairness and transparency, and promoting good governance. So obviously this is work that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Any other commentary? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item 9.3, and Councillor Cole, you have a conflict on this one.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a conflict. I'm on the committee of the Kilner St Pioneer Cemetery, which is general in nature.
Thank you. So item 9.3 is the CEO's annual report on the performance and activities of community asset committees. Mr Broadbent.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. This report is presented on behalf of the CEO, who is required to submit an annual report to Council on the activities and performance of our community asset committees. Council currently has 19 asset committees, all of which are listed in the report. The committees manage a variety of community facilities, including halls, reserves, an aerodrome, cemetery, and various swimming pools. This report relates to the period from the 1st of July 2023 to the end of the financial year 23-24, and acknowledges the significant work undertaken by the volunteers to enhance and preserve these assets for the greater community. Key achievements, challenges and opportunities for the future are also detailed within the various committee reports. It is recommended that Council notes the report as the Chief Executive Officer's annual report on the activities and performance of the community asset committees. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Broadbent. Do I have a mover for the recommendation that's sitting before us? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and first and foremost, we need to thank every single member that volunteers for these really, I mean, they're such special community asset committees. There's no way on earth that council could ever continue, well, not to do the work, but hold it to the, I guess, the calibre that the community expect. They've grown to love and expect from such an asset. So without the support of the volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do that without them. I think it's beneficial that we get the reports the way we do, in that we get a running sheet of what's been achieved throughout the year, what are the implications if there's any issues, but it also gives us some finance direction around which can then feed into our budget and also our long-term strategies that we put around the table here. So it's a really great reflection of what these community assets need. So then it's almost like building up a business case. I'd like to thank everyone that served on these asset committees and then have now finished their tenure. And there's a lot of people that do many, many years. So thank you to those, and thank you to the new people that have put up their hands for the coming 12 months. So, but as I said, I can't say enough about the fact that we just couldn't do it without them.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Higgy?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I don't want to sound like an echo chamber. However, I too would like to congratulate the volunteers who have finished their term this financial year, and particularly those who are serving again for the next 2 or 3 years. The community assets committees have a very important role of being on the ground and looking after the assets for us, making recommendations and recognising the challenges that come with buildings that are getting on in age. And it's because of the scrutiny of these committees that we're able to maintain assets that would otherwise be possibly lost to the community. So thank you very much to everybody who volunteers for the committees, and welcome anybody who's come on as a new serving committee, because the 19 community assets that are administered and looked after and nurtured are very valuable to our Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Higgy. Any other commentary? Okay, sure. No, nothing else. If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? All those in favour? Yep, thank you. Carried, thank you. Can we get Councillor Cole back in, please? So I'll move on to item 9.4, the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan for 2021-2025. Just an update for the 2024 year. Mr. Harrington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report is to provide an update on the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan 2021 to 2025. This is a 5-year plan which was originally adopted by Council in 2020. The plan has a focus on the provision of equitable and dignified access to services, facilities, planning, communications and employment processes for people with a disability. Council established a reference group to help provide advice on the plan implementation. The group meets 3 times per year and has volunteers with lived experience. The group now also includes students from the Hampton Specialist School. The plan has outlined 32 actions, and to date 26 of those actions have been completed and a further 6 actions are in progress. The original report within the materials incorrectly stated 16 were complete and 16 in progress, but the true numbers are 26 actions have been complete and 6 are in progress. The plan has delivered a range of actions since commencement, with an emphasis on education, reducing stigma and improving accessibility. The work will continue as we build on access and inclusion awareness and capability for our region. Mayor, the recommendation is to receive and note the progress of the update.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Councillor, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady, Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, apologies, I feel like I'm moving a few in a row, but I think all of you know how passionate I am about this particular plan. It was, it's hard to believe that we're coming into the final 12 months of this plan, and to think that we've already achieved 26 completed of those actions, which at the time when the plan was produced, I wouldn't say we looked at and thought this is going to be a really hard slog. It wasn't like that at all. They were achievable. And it's amazing to think that 26 have been completed, 6 have been at least started, but a lot of these projects that have been completed are embedded now within the organisation. So long before we're sitting here at this table, this is now part of the way we do things. and the fact that we're actually more aware than what we've ever been around inclusion for all people within our community. And we're not just talking about people with a disability, but also talking about people, potentially older. It's all about inclusiveness. So I just think we're just doing things better. When we build our streetscapes, each of the teams, everybody works together to make sure that all those boxes are being ticked, that we're being inclusive to everyone in the community. I'd like to do a shout out to our Rural Access Officer, who is so passionate, and like me, he has a lived experience. So to Patrick, if you're watching, thank you for being the driving force behind this action plan. He's part of our reference group, and I know recently we were fortunate to get the Hampton College, which they're now known as, previously the Hampton Specialist School, but the Hampton College kids have been inducted, I would like to say, onto our reference group, and they've been invaluable right from the start. And these kids have voices, and they're just a different demographic of young people, particularly that we really find it hard to engage with. So we find it hard to engage with young kids full stop, but to have kids that really do know about how they want their community to be so they feel included is really heartwarming. So shout out to Patrick and the other team members that have been helping out to achieve what we have already achieved. I'd like to make special mention of, at budget time we always talk about increasing the footpath network, but now we've actually got this plan that also sits behind why we need footpaths. Everybody needs to use footpaths in a way to get around our communities. So an extra 2.7 kilometres over the last 12 months has been implemented, so that's significant across all our towns. I'd also like to make mention of the scooter recharging points, which I don't know of any other communities in this region that did that, and that was actually initiated out of the Cobden Streetscape refresh, where we've actually line marked designated scooter parking. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool to go and have a look, and you see all these scooters lined up whilst they're doing their shopping. But there's an ability now where they can even do their recharging whilst they're shopping. We've now spread that out to other towns as well, so that's a great initiative. We celebrated the day of International Day of People with Disability only last week or the week before, I'm sorry, which we're able to see the great impact that the kids from the Hampton College have had, where they actually were part of creating a special video that is going to be shown to all our residents on how we do how we put rubbish into the bin, what's recycled, what goes in the purple lid bin, being the glass bin, and what goes in our FOGO bin. So the kids did an amazing job, and I think they were really proud and felt like they contributed to the Corangamite, residents by being able to produce that. So that was a really great initiative. I certainly also want to do a shout out to any of our reference group members who are sitting at home potentially watching this. They might be too busy to be watching, but each one that sits at that table has a lived experience, and everyone from a different walk of life as well. So these are the people that have a genuine, they know what they need, and they know what they should be entitled to as well. So to have their voice helping us create these initiatives has been, it's been really rewarding. So thank you to them. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think the outcome of this plan has been it's been a genuine effort, and I think a successful effort at creating positive attitudes to access and inclusion in our communities. And the term embedded is used, and I think really that has occurred, and I think that we've just become accustomed really to having a positive attitude towards access and inclusion, and also appreciating the capabilities of all the members of our communities, and I mean all the members of our communities, as Councillor Beard said. And when you look at the scope of the plan, when you look at the six aims, you're looking at access to services and programs, to the built environment, accessible transport, information and communication, leisure and recreation, employment and education. They're all important things for every person in the community, and I think when you look at the achievements and read through the list of those achievements, it's really quite stunning and very impressive. And you know, we can see that out in our communities, and I can see that actively in the Terrain community of the Little Acorn Cafe. And that's a fine example of the achievements that have been created by the likes of this plan, and that, you know, has been one avenue through which we've actively addressed the needs of those living with disability, as well as other people in our communities. I think it's really commendable, and I'm really proud of where we've come in terms of disability access and inclusion. And I support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Is there any other commentary? I'm waiting for, sorry, Councillor Castrain, I just presumed you'd like to say something, but obviously not. So, so I think this is really important. Having a brother with a lived experience, I understand what it means to be able to get out and about, and I really can. I'm really thankful for all the work that the team do day in and day out to make sure that we continue to work towards embedding inclusion and equity of access. And I really think that's very important for anyone who lives in rural or regional areas, that we are able to do just as much as anyone as our city counterparts. So I'm really thankful for all the work, and as I've said before, 26 might be completed, but I think there are ways of work in action. You never know when you need to improve something, so I always look at them as a work in action, and we always need to revise and relook at those things as well. So very happy to support the recommendation as well. If there's no more commentary, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. I move on to item 9.5, the Bukar Cricket Club grant. Mr. Broadbent.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, this report seeks the release of $55,000, including GST, in funding to be released to the Bukar Cricket Club to enable the construction of new change rooms and club rooms. An allocation of $55,000 was made as part of Council's 24-25 budget. The funding was originally planned as a co-contribution for a grant application with Sport and Recreation Victoria. The scope of the project, however, has been revised, which has significantly reduced the overall costs and removed the need for the SRV grant funding. The change room facilities and club rooms will be built on Department of Education land at Camperdown College, and all agreements are in place with the department. The club will also be responsible for sourcing any additional funding required to complete the project and the ongoing maintenance of the facility. As this is a change in the funding ratio for the project, a council resolution is required in order for the funds to be released. It is recommended that the council approve the contribution of $55,000, including GST, from the current budget to the Bukar Cricket Club for the installation of the change room facilities. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Broadbent. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Castrain. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a real community benefit to develop the facilities at the now home of the Bukar Cricket Club. There is an allocation already in the budget to allow monies to develop a business plan to provide these facilities. The scope has changed somewhat, but the funding is still there and does not need to be altered. This really is a win-win situation for the community. There have been decommissioned classrooms, portable classrooms, removable classrooms that have been made available, which significantly reduce the cost of building brand new facilities. Those classrooms would be otherwise lost to our community, so to have a use for them is a real benefit. And it will go towards providing change rooms for both playing teams, home and away, and also male and female competitions that could run in conjunction. The net benefit for the community will assist male and female cricketers to take up the challenge of playing the game, and the reason behind these facilities to be developed has not changed. So therefore, I support the recommendation that the council approve the contribution of $55,000 from the current budget to the Bukar Cricket Club for the installation of the change room facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Castrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and can I just comment and say that the Bukar Cricket Club did an excellent presentation to council a couple of weeks ago. I believe there's some members in the gallery, so I would just like to congratulate them and to just a great job they've done in reining in their budgets. They obviously realised that the work $50,000 wasn't going to get them the ultimate dream that they had for branding club groups. We know that particularly around state government budgets, the grant funding is very, very tight. So I congratulate them in really cutting the cloth accordingly and coming up with the innovative solution of using the two portables from St Patrick's School. I drove past yesterday the ground in Frederick Street, and they certainly look very good on their block. They've done an amazing job, and I wish them all the very best. 80 members, and it's growing. I think we're seeing growth in the majority of the clubs these days with the introduction, obviously, the rules competition and ongoing opportunities. So, well done to Buka. I think you've ended up with a really good outcome. I know there's a lot of work that's gone into this already, particularly in kind, and I thank those volunteers for contributing in that way and wish them all the best. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Is there any other commentary? Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to add a little bit of history to the whole thing. Bukar Cricket Club used to be out at Bukar years ago, and they had a lake for the pelican to swim on, because they're called the Bukar Pelicans. And anyway, they've been homeless for quite a while, or lakeless probably, is a better way of putting it, and shifted around quite a bit. And now they've found a home, and the pelican now has a long walk to the lake, but they've got a home where they can call home, and long may they keep thriving. I'm fully in favour of this.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. Just added to what Councillor Australia said, we certainly did receive an excellent presentation from the club a week ago, and definitely the team behind the project is very well prepared and organised, and I was listening carefully to everything they said, and I could see that they demonstrated really shared flexibility, particularly in relation to modifying the original project to make it a much more achievable state. So there's a very clear plan to reach completion, and the utilisation of various types of funding and sources of in-kind support as well. So I was impressed with the planning that's gone into it, and I feel really confident that this project is going to reach a very successful end and provide a very functional and fit for purpose for the cricket club. And certainly the release of these funds are of an enabling nature, and we're so pleased that we've got such a dynamic group that's ready to put the effort and the work in and to bring this project to a successful completion.
Thank you, Councillor Canady.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other commentary? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. I move on to item 9.6, the Skipton Community Collective Funding Request. Mr Harrington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report is for Council to consider providing a financial contribution of $25,000 to the Skipton Community Collective towards the development of a comprehensive feasibility study for the establishment of a new early and community learning centre in Skipton. The Skipton Community Collective was formed in 2023 during Council's Skipton Structure Plan process. They are a community-driven group aiming to support Skipton's long-term sustainability and prosperity. The feasibility study is expected to cost $50,000, with the collective seeking a $25,000 contribution from Council and the balance to come from corporate and community partners. The study will evaluate demand, workforce needs and financial viability, with the final report being presented back to Council. Council officers have identified a number of options for Council to consider. Mayor, there is a recommendation for Council to make a determination on the funding request.
Thank you, Mr Harrington. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Sorry, I'm just flipping to it. Do I have a mover for that recommendation, please? Councillor Cole. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Beard.
So,
yes, I was about to clarify, please. Can you please clarify, Councillor Cole, the recommendation you are wanting to put forward for the council to accept, please?
I'm moving that we determine the fund request to $25,000 for the community collective for the early childhood learning feasibility study. Sorry, yeah.
No, worries. Councillor Beard, are you happy?
Yeah, clarifying, so if I may.
Yes.
So, Councillor Cole, you're asking council, you're moving a motion that council resolve to grant $25,000 of funding to Skipton Community Collective for the purpose of undertaking a feasibility study for early childhood education. Is
Yes.
that okay?
That's what Councillor Cole is moving. That's his recommendation.
So it's just a slight change to the
So the
recommendation,
council is being asked to make a determination on the
which the figure's
request.
still the same. It's
The figure's
just,
still-
it's for the specific purpose.
Yeah, the options before council, as Mr Harrington outlined, is to either approve the funding request, reject it, or as the officer's preference is, refer it to the budget process.
So what Councillor Cole is
Yeah,
moving is he wants to approve that we give the funding request of $25,000 to the Skipton Community Collective to do a childcare feasibility study right now,
Right.
here today.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Do you second that motion?
I do second that motion.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Cole, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Skipton Community Collective have been very, very proactive in moving forward and trying to move forward Skipton. It's a great little town to the north of the Shire, and Skipton covers a very, very big area of mainly farming and grazing land. So the farm's totally different in a lot of ways to what we get sort of south of the Prince's Highway, which is dairy farming and a lot more intensive, a lot bigger area up there. The other towns that are close by are Derrinallen and Lismore on the Hamilton Highway, and then you've got Skipton, and then you get up to Ballarat really for the next big town. So it's a big, big area. Families are scattered, but there are families up there with young children that need childcare and need early learning centres, etc., etc. So I have no problem moving this. As I said, the community have been very proactive. They've put all this together themselves, come to it with what I consider a very well worked out plan, and to try and get some childcare into Skipton. As I said, it captures a big area, so I think it's a very worthwhile thing. I think it's timely. I think the federal government are talking about a lot of childcare and early learning support, and if Skipton can get this proposal ready and going very soon, they've got a chance of getting some of that federal government support with any luck as well. So I have no problem at all in moving this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. And yeah, I'm supporting Councillor Cole's what he's put up as a recommendation, purely on the fact that we can't hide from the point that Corangamite Shire's got multiple childcare. We're in a childcare desert, and we know a way of growing our population and getting the best out of our communities, because we need childcare at the end of the day. And Skipton aren't the only township where we know that this is a significant issue. But kudos to this community that have identified this as their number one priority and are going to back it. So you can't expect funding out of state and federal governments if you don't have a business case behind it. We've been obviously doing some work internally for other projects regarding childcare in other areas of the Shire, but this community has seen where their strength needs to be, and really appreciated the day that in August where we had the collective come and talk to us around, the multiple priorities that I have for multiple projects for the community to see Skipton grow. But this one is the one that's come to the fore, and it's actually really smart to I guess back a project to this degree, because this is going to enable, as I said, the township to grow. Just like the agenda item previously, the Bukar Cricket Club. It's not normal for us to, direct funds out of budget cycle, but when there's extreme circumstances and opportunities, sometimes you just got to go out on a whim and do what we can. And I think as an organisation, we back our communities, but we back our passionate community members the most. So I'm certainly supportive of helping Skipton at least get this business case up and going sooner than later.
Thank you, councillor Beard. Is there any other commentary on this one? I'm just looking on screen to make sure. Nope. Okay. I just want to be clear that we do have a budget process for a reason, is to put things like this through the budget and to make sure that we have all our finances in check and we can balance our books and do all that as well. So I understand why this has come to us out of budget cycle, but I encourage all community groups out there, which we are asking for submissions now to our budget, what you would like to see within our community, to really think hard and long. And I understand projects pop up here and there and we can't plan all into a crystal ball and a future, but there is a budget process, and this is why we have a budget process, so we don't have to continually try and find the money here and there. So I encourage all community groups out there to have a look, have a think, put your submissions into the budget and see what we can do going forward for the 25-26 budget. Other than that, I think that's all. Oh,
Before the writer replied.
oh sorry, councillor Hickey, I didn't see you there, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was a bit slow. This is a little extraordinary, and this is outside our budget cycle. So this project hasn't been budgeted for. And one thing we do pride ourselves on this council is having strong budgetary discipline. And if I may just call on Mr. Harrington and just ask him, is there capacity to be able to find this money in this current budget term?
So thank you, Councillor Hickey. So through you, Madam Mayor, we are coming up to a mid-year budget review, so we will look at identifying where our finances are, but based on our last finance reports, we can definitely fit this project into the current year budget.
No worries, thank you, Mr. Harrington. Is that all, Mr. Councillor
Thank you.
Hickey? If there's no other commentary, I'll put the recommendation to vote. All those in favour? On the screen, thank you. Carried, thank you. I'll move on to item 9.7. S11A, Planning and Environment Act 1987, Appointment and Authorisation of Officer. Miss Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's endorsement for the appointment of authorised officers under the Planning and Environment Act 1987 through an updated instrument of authorisation and appointment. This request results from recent staff changes in the organisation, and by authorising the relevant officers to perform their duties under the Act, Council will ensure that officers have the required authority to carry out their roles within legislative requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Castrain, Councillor Beard.
Nice and quick with this one, purely administrative.
Excellent, Councillor Beard. Councillor Castrain.
No, nothing else to add. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No worries. Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Any other commentary? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Looking on screen. Thank you. Carried. Item 9.8, Register of Interactions with Developers. Miss Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Another governance matter. So in September last year, Council approved an interactions with developers policy, and one of the policy's requirements is the maintenance of a register of contacts with developers and lobbyists. That register is to be presented annually to Council's Audit and Risk Committee, which occurred last week, and then followed by a report to Council, which is occurring tonight. Details and requirements of the policy really seek to build upon existing statutory and model councillor code of conduct and staff code of conduct requirements, and do not introduce new requirements or duplicating things that's existing. The policy doesn't limit or prevent any routine discussions that councillors and officers may have with community members and businesses regarding planning information and process. Rather, it proposes or places a framework around how meetings or interactions with developers and lobbyists are conducted. The register has been maintained since the policy came into effect, so since October 2023, and a copy of that register is attached to the agenda. For the purposes of the policy, only 2 interactions have been recorded in that 12-month period from October to November 24. All other known interactions are regarded as operational and as part of normal development application or advocacy processes and subject to accepted conduct and conflict of interest reporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before you. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Vogels. Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Not much to say on this. It is a very good policy to have as good governance would reflect. It's quite difficult, as many people would understand, in a small community to avoid developers and lobbyists. It's part and parcel of living in a small community, so having a register whereby we can record those conversations is good governance, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, it's just good for transparency, and I thought I'd move it a second because I think I'm one of the two that's got one in there for a disclosure of a meeting with developers. So, no, transparency and butt covering, it's all good.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Any other commentary? If not, I'll put the Councillor Castrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a really important policy that Council adopted last year. I think as Councillor Beard mentioned earlier about Operation Sand, it highlighted a number of issues where the City of Casey has councillors got into serious hot water with interactions with developers. So I think that this is giving us a really good guideline to follow and in fact being a policy. I'm pleased that it actually is presented to the Audit and Risk Committee for them to have a look at. And while there's only two applications being submitted into the policy, I think it's certainly top of mind for councillors when they are meeting with developers, even if it's in a casual social setting, to make sure that it gets fully reported. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Is there any other commentary? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We move on to item 9.9, sorry, the geographic place name feedback, Pora Yeyang Morang. Miss Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The trial between Timboon and Port Campbell was completed in December 2023, so almost 12 months ago, and the working title for the trail is commonly known as the 12 Apostles Trail. However, the Geographic Naming Victoria, or GNV, advised that the name 12 Apostles would be non-compliant because the trail does not currently finish at the 12 Apostles and could create a false sense of expectation in visitors that they can reach the 12 Apostles via the trail. It is a statutory requirement under the Geographic Place Names Act 1998 to register a formal name for any new road, thoroughfare or course which can be navigated by vehicle or foot with GNV. Initial discussions for formally naming the trail started back in 2022 and involved discussion with the Eastern Mar Aboriginal Corporation and in particular Kire Wurrung language expert Dr. Vicky Cousins. The following naming principles were applicable in this particular case. Firstly, Principle C, which is linking the name to place names, should have a link to the place to ensure that the preservation of cultural heritage. Principle E was recognition and use of traditional owner languages. The use of traditional owner languages enables the wider community to be educated about traditional owner history and shared culture. And Principle K, the language of geographic names should be easy to pronounce, spell and write, and preferably not exceed 3 words. However, an exception to this is in the use of traditional owner languages where it is accepted that traditional owner names that initially appear complex will over time become familiar and easy to use. Adjoining landowners and broader community have been provided an opportunity to provide feedback on the name. Letters were sent to landowners adjoining the trail and to key stakeholders, and the proposal was also widely circulated in the broader community via social media. Council's website, communities newsletters, public notice in the local paper and of course media release. As a result of that consultation, we received 128 responses, 125 via the online submission form and 3 via email. We had 69 responses who agreed with or supported the proposed name, and 58 who disagreed with the name or did not support the proposed name, and one response that took a bit each way. So neither agreed nor disagreed. The Timboon to Port Campbell Trail links to the Camperdown to Timboon Rail Trail and provides a well-utilised 19-kilometre trail throughout the southern part of the Shire. Following the official naming of the trail, should council pursue this, the community can then progress development of branding collateral for the trail, enabling promotion and marketing to include directional, locational and interpretive signage, and that includes websites, brochures and other social media campaigns. Development of the trail branding can also reference commonly used names and geographic locations in addition to the formal place name. In other words, the branding won't be restricted to the use of Pauper Yanyi Nerang, but will embrace the shared history and connections and stories of the trail from Timboon through Pereira to Port Campbell. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Castrain. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I've got notes for this one to keep me on track. So, Pauper Yang Marang, hopefully that's close, is the name that we're putting forward to Geographic Names Victoria, if this motion gets up. So there's mixed views came in, as Miss Lindley gave all the numbers and stuff already. I won't go into that. But, you know, one of the main Indigenous naming things is that we go out and talk to the local Aborigines, the Kire Wurrong of the Estamar Nation. Vicky Cousins has come up with this name. So there's a bit of to and fro in the community, which probably the most probably people against it were saying it's a hard to pronounce name, and other names would be more recognisable and easier to promote. But we can't have a dual name. So why can't we have a dual name? So even if the official Indigenous name is the one progressed through the GNV, Council will be undertaking brand development, followed by a marketing promotional campaign that uses the official name alongside the more commonly used names that refer to the start and finish of the towns along the way. So in other words, an informal dual naming process, if we can't do the dual name officially through the GNV, Geographic Names Victoria. And this is already common. There's plenty of examples out there. One would be Takara Lamana, which means the She-Oak Trail, and that's in Clarence in Tasmania. And closer to home is the Joang Barang, which means the Long Track, and that's part of the Creswick Trails network of 60 kilometres of mountain bike trails in Creswick, north of Ballarat. So I did have a search online for Creswick Trails, even though the official name is Joang Barang, and it brings you straight through to LinkedIn with unofficial dual naming. So if through tourism and stuff, and it's something we really need to highly promote, is the trail, because it is fantastic connection between Port Campbell and Timboon, and fantastic for exercise and for tourism. So it is easily branded and advertised under dual names outside of its official name. So if you have a look at the Creswick Trails website, you get a feel for sort of where we would be heading with the branding, and it's been fairly successful for them. So we've got a fantastic asset, so hopefully goes well into the future.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Castrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Vogels has stolen every speaking point that I had. I too have been Googling other names for trails, and I didn't put the one at Creswick since it was so close. Since the beginning of this project, we've always called it the 12-day trail. And obviously, as we've been told, that's not appropriate, but can I say that we're working on it, and one day maybe we'll need 12 days trail sooner rather than later. Can I thank 128 people who have taken time to fill out the survey? That's probably one of the most largest responses that we've had to the survey, so thank you to that. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of Vicky Cousins. who did all the research and coming up with the Corangamite meeting trail name, which means travel through country, and I think that's just so appropriate. From Timboon, starting Timboon, finishing in Port Campbell, or vice versa, that you are travelling through country. I appreciate it is a bit of a mouthful, but I think that as time goes on, people will become used to the name, and I agree with the branding and the marketing, but it can still be, the trail from Timboon to Port Campbell. That's how we need to promote it. But I certainly encourage people to look at the Aboriginal name and become familiar with it. So I'm more than happy to support Councillor Vogel's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Is there any other commentary? Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree that one of my big problems is the pronunciation or the length of the name or whatever. But I live in a place called Bukar, which most other people from all the rest of Australia call it Bukar. As I've lived there all my life, and all the locals call it Bukar. It's a much shorter word, but it still gets mispronounced as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be a hard one. It's a lot of work to sell this one, I think, get it right in that regard. So I have no trouble with it. The other problem I have with it is I've always regarded trail as an American name or word, and track is an Australian name. So I think we should be going with the Punya and Mary track rather than trail. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Hickey?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I support the Pauper Yang Ying Marang name. I think it's the more we say it, the more the community will get used to using that particular name. I remember at school there's quite a few words that I read from the Oxford Dictionary that didn't sound like it was written to. So I think the very fact that we continue to use this trail name, road name, the more it will flow off people's tongue. And of course the marketing will show that the exact location of it, leading from Port Campbell, or from Timboon to Port Campbell, or from Port Campbell to Timboon, whichever way you take the track. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Is there any other discussion? Before you do, Councillor Vogels, I'm going to have a little talk as well before you have a right reply. Living in Timboon, I know how the community feels. I understand how the community feels. They often come up to me and have had this discussion about the trail name. I understand there is hesitation to adopt this name, but what we here at Council is saying that the Pauper Yang Marang name is the official name, but we are branding it so it will still have the Timboon Port Campbell trail name on there as well. So though it's not officially a dual name as such, people will still name it what they want to name it, and it will probably just come common knowledge that it'll be the Timboon Port Campbell Trail. And who knows, one day it might even go to the 12As. We can only hope and wish and dream that it does go to the 12As and make it possible for people to do that track as well. So I know there's a little bit of unrest in the community. Please be reassured that that is not what we're doing here. This is a place name and it means travelling through country, which we all do, and I do that on a regular basis on this trail. And it's really important that we have this name, but we also name it how we would like to name it as well. So, but the marketing group will do a great job with that, and I thank the team and I thank Vicky Cousins for all the work she has done with this as well, because it is a very important name for the community, but it's a very important name for the trail as well. So thank you to Justine, your staff, and to Vicky Cousins as well. Councillor Vogels, did you want to write a reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I was just going to add fun facts.
Sure.
If that's okay. So in Australia, 75% of place names are already Indigenous. Mm-hmm. So there's about 4 million place names in Australia. So, and 3 million of them are already Indigenous names. So every day is a school day.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. And on that note, no other commentary. I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.10, council meeting dates for 2025. Mr. Ray.
Mayor, thank you. And through you, council has a lease of obligation to publish on its website its meeting dates for a calendar year. It's recommended that council continue the tradition of holding its meetings on the fourth Tuesday of every month, with the exception of June 2025 and December 2025, as outlined in the report. It's also recommended that those meetings for the 2025 commence at 3 p.m. in the afternoon for reasons outlined in the report, and the council hold its meetings, each meeting at the Clara Centre here in Camperdown, and then council publish on its websites its meeting dates for next year as well.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillor, there's a recommendation for us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Castrone. Councillor Hickey.
Sorry, I was not prepared to answer this one, I must admit. Yes, look, I think it's good that we do publish them. Change of date, it fits with other impositions we've got, and the time will be a different time to what a lot of people are used to. However, it is for the safety of officers returning, sometimes many hours to get back home. So, yeah, I support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Hickey. Councillor Castrone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Hickey. I think this makes sense. I mean, obviously, with councillor officers as well as councillors getting home after a fairly busy day, and it might be 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So I think from an occupational health and safety aspect, that this is the way to go. Certainly not unheard of. Previously, to go to 10 o'clock meeting, council used to meet at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So hopefully, it also encourages attendance. I know there's a big crowded gallery tonight, but I hope there's more encouraged to either join online or come into the gallery. And I just need to remind Mr Mulholland, who I think will be in the gallery, that I think it's having a January meeting at 3 p.m. So, yeah, happy to move to second this, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrone. Is there any other commentary? Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. And you're correct, Mr Mulholland is here. So we'll remind him that he's got 3 o'clock start from now on. You made mention, Councillor Castrone, about our responsibility to the staff and fellow councils around, occupational safety. I think it's not disregarding that we haven't in the past, because we have done the 7 o'clock meetings for many years. I just think times have changed. We're acknowledging that times have changed now that we have, since COVID. I guess that was one silver lining for our communities, that they could actually stay at home, and when they were interested, or some may say if they had nothing else to watch on TV that night, then they could watch their councillors at their council meeting. But the fact that you can go and watch it at any time you want, and as you said, it might be able to attract more people to come if it's at 3 o'clock. It's worth a shot. We're not going to lose anything by it, but it certainly will help those that do travel a distance to obviously get back to where they need to at a more appropriate time. So certainly supportive of giving this a go, and I think it's been very it'll be a good, interesting way to see how it goes anyway, knowing that you used to do it years ago, Council Australian at 1 o'clock. I think 3 o'clock's a good time to start.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Any other commentary? Councillor Vogels?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And now that they've meetings are recorded, and you can watch it back as often as you want, whenever you want, makes a large difference.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. If there's no other commentary, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We move into other business, item 10. Other business. Councillors, do you have any other business you'd like to raise tonight? Nothing online? No. Nothing? No. No problem. I'll move into item number 11, open forum. And yes, we do have quite a few in the gallery tonight. You can make a open forum statement. A maximum of 2 items may be raised by a person at this council meeting. The questions or statement must be relevant to the Corangamite Shire. You have a maximum of 5 minutes speaking time. I will give you a 1 minute warning, and then at 5 minutes I'll ask you to stop. But please come to the mic, introduce yourself, and ask your questions or state your statement, please.
For those who don't know me, my name is Michael Pulio, and I live here in Camperdown. In the past month or so, the Council and CEO have been presented with accredited documents in relation to both the Moderna and Pfizer mRNA vaccines. These documents showed that both these mRNA products contain up to 145 times the acceptable level of synthetic DNA contamination as prescribed by the TGA. This raises grave concerns and questions as to how safe these mRNA vaccines are. Last week, I was able to meet with Mayor Kate Macon, Deputy Mayor Laurie Hickey and Shire CEO David Ray to brief them on this matter in the hope of providing context, clarity and awareness in light of the fact that these mRNA vaccines are still being deployed in the Corangamite Shire. Section 8 of the Local Government Act of 2020 clearly states in subsection 1 the role of the council, and I quote, "The role of a council is to provide good governance in its municipal district for the benefit and well-being of the municipal community," end quote. This DNA contamination in relation to these two products that are still being used and promoted in the Shire is exactly about the well-being of the community. Due to these facts, I and many other members of this community feel it is incumbent on the Council as an absolute minimum to write to the Prime Minister and all relevant health authorities demanding clarification around this matter, that is, the synthetic DNA contamination of both the mRNA Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, and to be provided with independent data proving their safety. And independent data means not just the TGA's say-so, whose independence, by the way, can seriously be doubted. Considering the government is looking at introducing these mRNA products onto the childhood immunisation schedule makes this a matter of even greater importance and urgency. This is an ongoing situation, and as such, if the Council refuses to write to the Prime Minister and relevant authorities as requested, then the argument could be made that you are abdicating on your responsibility in relation to the well-being of the community as outlined under subsection 1 of section 8 of the Local Government Act of 2020. If you require further documentation in relation to what is being presented to you, I've got more than enough to keep you busy, and I'll have that documentation at the council offices tomorrow morning, if you so ask. Irrespective, you as a council have a duty of care to the community, regardless of whatever narrative is being pushed by the federal or state governments, and you must act on this duty of care. In fact, we all have a duty of care, and it's this duty of care I feel to the community I live in, which motivated and continues to motivate me to bring this issue up with you. You may have very little appetite to do what's being requested of you. However, you are currently occupying positions of leadership in this community, and now is exactly the time to lead. And this is why I, on behalf of many members of this community, am making the request that you write the letters. We need absolute assurance backed by independent data that the DNA contamination found in these mRNA products poses no threat to the health and well-being of our community.
Thank you, Mr. Titulero. Does anyone else wish to speak? Miss Melanie first.
Melanie Debris, I'm a Camperdown resident. Council, in the last few weeks, you've all received my correspondence and accompanying documents about the excessive levels of synthetic DNA contamination in the mRNA COVID injections, as reported by Canadian virologist Dr. David Speaker. DNA contamination levels of up to 145 times the permissible amount. I also met with Councillor Ruth and Gastrain and CEO David Ray last Thursday to further discuss my concerns. There is mounting global evidence that synthetic DNA contamination levels far exceed the acceptable amount. In addition to Dr. Speaker's recent report, I'm aware of at least 7 other studies that confirm his findings of excessive DNA contamination in the COVID shots. Evidence from experts in the fields of molecular biology, genomics, virology, cancer genetics and public health. Angus Dalgleish, a professor of oncology at St George's University London, reports a trend towards an increase in cancers in the UK since February 2022. This is backed up by oncologists worldwide, regarding a notable increase in lymphomas, leukemias, kidney and colorectal cancers, with a common theme being that the patients have all had the COVID booster. Dalgleish explains that the vaccine contains lipid nanoparticles that encapsulate DNA fragments. These are delivered to various parts of the body where DNA has the potential to integrate with the person's own genetic material. This is extremely confronting and alarming. According to Professor Brighthope, a physician of 49 years, Australia has administered more than 60 million doses of the COVID vaccine to more than 20 million people. But health authorities are choosing not to monitor new and emerging trends in cancer and other illnesses. These findings present a very serious public health risk and pose significant risk to the safety of the Corangamite community. The Corangamite Shire Council Risk Management Policy states that Corangamite Council is committing to managing risk. And the purpose of the policy includes to protect the community against potential losses. I'd like to point out that ill health is indeed a loss to the individual, to their family and to the community. The Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan 2021 to 25 states that public health is everyone's business. Health and wellbeing, I note in the 10 priorities for public health and wellbeing, item number 2 states reducing injury. People are continuing to take the COVID injections. The Moderna mRNA manufacturing facility in Melbourne will reportedly produce 100 million vaccine doses per year. Furthermore, according to Professor Dalgleish, governments are being pushed by pharmaceutical companies to use the mRNA technology in the childhood immunisation schedule. We urgently need reassurance that these vaccines are safe and will not cause injury. I request that Council write to the Prime Minister and relevant state and federal departments demanding that the COVID injections be suspended until further investigation is carried out by an independent panel of experts using the most up-to-date methodology. There must be absolute transparency and no conflict of interest. It has come to light that the TGA are unable to provide this. I also request that you write to all health and medical practitioners in the Shire, alerting them to the research findings and encourage them to share this information with potential COVID vaccine patients to ensure that they can make an informed decision about their treatment. Thank you.
Mr. Mackenzie.
Madam Mayor, thank you, and councillors and friends. For those who don't know, my name's Michael Mackenzie, and I know most of the councillors, or know of them, and I assume that they know of me and I suppose the journey that I've been on the last 4 years, which was a fairly open one, and it was a chance for me to stand up at the time, I thought. My concerns for the original vaccines were that they were untested, unreliable and unhealthy. And I think I've been proven right on the first two. And I think the information that's come from the Port Hedland Council confirms the last one. So my question to you, I suppose, is why would they do it? Why would they have done this? Why would they have taken the extraordinary step to send information to every council in Australia. Now, to me, it's a bold move, and they wouldn't have done it, and they haven't done it, without the proof to back them up. So, if they've taken this step, they thought it was meaningful enough. Hopefully what this will do tonight is promote some discussion. I mean, I assume you've got the documentation. I assume you've read it. I assume you may have some questions. So what do we do next? To me, the idea that my concern is that can we in all good conscience continue to roll out the mRNA vaccines without doing some more due diligence? So if that's the case, it's my hope that you guys will continue to, one, discuss it, delve a little bit deeper, find some more information. There's been lots given tonight by Michael and Mel. And ultimately, I suppose, support the recommendations that the Port Hedland Council put forward, and we're putting forward tonight. That, one, the constituents are notified, and two, the government is made aware. Because my question that keeps coming back to me is, what if they're right? I think they are. I'm not quite sure where you sit, but what if they're right? And you have done nothing? That's my concern. I mean, for me personally, it won't matter. I won't be taking them. But I have friends and I have family and people I love who aren't my friends and family, who aren't in that role to me. So I won't be doing it. But I hope that you can see past. I was listening to someone last night and they were saying one of the roles is to open up your mind a little bit more to say, maybe there is something here. And if that's the case, what are we going to do about it? Then my first statement was, 4 years or 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I stood up in the only way I could to say, this isn't right. I should not be forced to do something I don't want to do. Now, looking back on those mandates, most people would probably say, yeah, that was probably a bit harsh. Maybe that wasn't right. Maybe the fact that I was forced to lose my job was something that showed the community what I was prepared to do to say this isn't right. So I'm standing up tonight one more time to sort of say, hey, I don't think this is right still. We've been given facts and information more and more every day. Things are coming out by much more intelligent people than me. There's probably a whole bunch here that can speak much better than I could on this sort of stuff. So my hope tonight is, I'm here now to say, please help. Please, you've got the power to make a difference and at least do us the honour, I suppose, of actually going back and having a look at this another time. Put it on the agenda. Come up with a plan. Or come up with something, because I've been looking forward to seeing what comes up in the future. Thanks for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? One more, Liz. Yep.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name's Gary Riches. I'd just like to point out for those that aren't aware, to my knowledge, be very quick this one, we have 7 councils within Australia that have adopted a no vaccination policy. God bless. I think the Corangamite Shire, you've all got a duty of care, and that's the people you serve. Message here tonight.
Anyone else? Sure. Yep.
My name is Catherine Ford and I'm local in the Corangamite Shire. I'd like to agree with all these people and thank them for their braveness in pointing it out to you guys. I'd like to just say from a personal, I have grandchildren now, and I'm really worried about my little granddaughters and my grandsons. And you people have the power to investigate this and to stop. If it is in the immunisations for the young babies, we need to stop it, and we need to stop it pretty soon. Thank you.
Anyone else in the gallery? Mr. Mulholland, did you want to speak?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And tonight with these people in the gallery has proved that the forum is a very good thing. And I'd like to thank Mr. David Ray, because when ultimately he has the power to put an end to this, and he allows it, and he allows many other things. And that gives this community a lot of power. And I personally, on behalf of myself and everyone else, thank you, Mr. Ray, for allowing this type of activity and other things to carry on. As you may know, that I've spoken many times on simplicity is very important. And as the end of the year is coming up very soon, and this is the last council meeting, I'd like to put a challenge to everybody, and that is to think of what you're going to do next year. And I challenge everybody to work out a simple way to do your job better and work with others better, so as it will change the world. Because if we all adopted a simple thing like, I am going to do things better than I did last year, the world will be a much, much better place. And as a postscript to my coming up here, I think it's very good that you've got 2 councillors on Skype, but it would be very nice if the gallery was able to see whether you've got another screen or you use I call them moon mirrors, so as anyone in the gallery can see what's on the screen. I think would be very nice. Thank you very much for allowing me to be up here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mulholland. No other questions? Mr. CEO, do we have any questions online or written to us, please?
Madam Mayor, there are no questions from the online stream. However, in advance of this evening's meeting, I did receive a question from Council Watch, and the question that was asked to put to this meeting tonight, which I have an answer to, is what is the approximate cost per public council meeting for council and staff meals, refreshments and beverages, if applicable? And the answer to that question, Madam Mayor, is that council spends approximately $400 per meeting, exclusive of GST, or an average of $30 per head for every meeting, so it's once a month.
Thank you, Mr. Ray, for that answer. So we do have some confidential items, so I need to move into suspending standing orders. So can I please have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard and Councillor Hickey. Thank you very much. Just before we sign off, I'd like to wish everyone that's in the gallery today and everyone who's watching online a very Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year. If you are travelling, please take care on the roads. And do not forget to download the Vic Emergency app, just so you're all aware of what's happening around you in this time. As we know, it's very dry outside. Touch wood, cross fingers, everything like that. We hope there's no emergencies in the new year or over the Christmas period. But please stay safe. Enjoy your break with your family and friends. And we look forward to seeing you back in the new year. Thank you very much.